Great. Well, here we are. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for being here. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, if you're on YouTube live right now and you want to join us on Zoom, there's a link there in the chat. But the replay will be here. And for anyone who's here live, which I know you're going to enjoy this and get a lot of good tapping, a lot of good understanding about how to work with cravings and impulses. So anything that we do today, you're like, wow, I wish I could do that again. Well, just go back and watch the replay right on the channel. And I'll also be sending a link to everyone here. So looks like everything is functioning and moving smoothly. So I'm really glad to have Lisa Reardon with us here today. Thanks so much, Lisa. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you very much, Evan. I'm really pleased to be here.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it on my channel already, there's an interview with Lisa, as well as everyone that's going to be here for these next couple days. And we have an interview. In that case, it's actually not about cravings. It's about process quantum EFT. Lisa is one of the few certified practitioners in the world with that process. And I'm actually interviewing the creator of that, Jenny Johnston, in like 2 days. But we're not going to, that doesn't lend itself as well, obviously. It's really fascinating. I recommend watching that and learning about that process. But for something like this context, it doesn't quite apply itself as well. But what really does apply itself well, and which does, I think, apply to every human being, whether you know it or not, actually, because it doesn't have to be like full blown, like, oh, I can't stop drinking this thing or I can't stop eating this food. When you start looking at cravings and impulses and desires, it can be really surprising how much this really is running the show in some ways. And so learning how to use tapping, which we're going to do today with Lisa, not just, oh, this craving, right? Like it's way deeper than that. And Lisa's going to give us some context and some understanding of how to use tapping to work with these things specifically. So Lisa, thanks so much. Anything else you need from me to get things going, or do you feel good to?
Oh, well, I'm good to go. If you
Awesome.
give me an indication how you'd like me to go, I'm
Yeah,
poised and
just
ready. So,
yeah, introducing it the way you had presented to me before, just giving that little context of kind of what a craving is. I mean, we know what the experience of a craving is,
yes,
but
yeah.
tapping is often it's still pretty mystified, in my opinion. People think it's just this magic thing that does stuff, and it's associated with like, oh, just think about whatever you want and tap on it. But the research and the part of why it actually works is a little less known. But not that there's plenty of videos that go more into that description, but just this context of what's going on when we're really strongly desiring something, even if intellectually we know it's maybe not the best thing for us, a little what's going on there and why a tool like tapping actually can break that and not be something that we just have to like, okay, so every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to have to be like, "Oh, okay, like I don't want this thing. It's not going to be like that." And I think having that context is helpful.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. Yes. So probably most of us are have a craving for something. So whether it's physical substances, so it could be alcohol, cigarettes, certain foods, sugar is a really strong one, or whether it's for behaviors. So, the social media scrolling, shopping apps. I've heard that's something that's coming up for people, emotional eating. So they're all ones that can be showing up in people's lives. It can start off innocent enough, and none of those probably in the beginning are life-threatening, but when they start to make themselves known, it's because that there's actually something in the brain that's driving the urge. So what happens when we have a craving is that our brain sets off dopamine, which is our reward system of our brain. So what it does is it releases dopamine, it starts us seeking something. And as that dopamine is rising, whatever we attach the behavior or the substance to, we get rewarded for it and we get even more dopamine. So our body and our brain learns when I'm in searching mode. Oh, last time I had a packet of crisps and I felt good. So the next time I want, I'm feeling that same, whatever the feeling is before you do your thing. Crisps worked last time. I'm going to do crisps this time. So that's why there's something a little bit more involved with the craving. So um, what I've found, and as Evan said, so often it's at a very unconscious level. So sometimes we're not even aware of it. What I've found personally and with the clients I work with, EFT is a great way to let the nervous system know that it's okay. It also can help with the emotions that are below whatever is driving the cravings. And we'll get into that today, which I think is worthwhile. So it's never just the surface thing. There's always something else that's at a deeper level. And if people want to explore that, I think that's where you can actually get real change happening. And the other thing that I found with EFT, and I've given up coffee this week, and you might hear in my voice, like my body is absolutely complaining that I haven't been having coffee. So my apologies if I'm sounding a bit raspy. But I've been using tapping because it's decreased the itch, the urgency. So I have been using it myself. So this is a very timely presentation. So thank you.
Mhm.
Um, I love it that it helps the brain and the body. It's not just about willing ourselves out of whatever behaviors. And I don't know if people here have had an experience of, oh, well, I've got one of my cravings under control, and then all of a sudden it pops up with something else. So obviously there might be a deeper cause that's underlying that.
Well, thanks for letting us know as well that it is a process, that you're using tapping to help bring down the fight in the body that's happening, or the complaining you said in the body. Because I always want to encourage people to not think of it like, oh, I tapped on my coffee craving and it didn't work. And you hear that a lot, and I don't blame anyone for thinking that way. I feel like it's often presented that way, where the expectation is like, oh, tapping didn't work because I did a tapping on a coffee craving and my body still wants it. But understanding like, yeah, your body is going to still have that impulse for a time, but this is a tool to make that way smoother and possibly attainable, where sheer willpower may just be impossible to cut it.
Yeah, well said. That's right. This isn't about willpower, actually, because we all know that of our limited cells, our willpower will only go so far. So, what I love with the use of EFT with cravings is that we actually get to the truth, we get to the body's truth, and we help the body. And we also can come up with other ways that we may be choosing that might be more supportive of our health. And I don't know about other people here. Most people are motivated away from pain. Certainly,
Sure,
that's my truth.
sure. Yeah.
It's not till the pain gets bad enough I choose to do something about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind perhaps demonstrating a little bit of what
Sure.
it might look like on the maybe the slightly more surface level, like
Yeah, we'll start wherever people are because we're not going to launch right into full things. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, and tune in for yourselves to see how this resonates, but actually the urge of a craving, if you think about a time when you've had a craving for something, the urge of that craving only lasts about 10 to 20 minutes. It feels like longer. But if you've ever had an urge to go and do something like you normally would, and you get distracted and taken off, if you ride that wave up, and it actually will peak and it will go away.
mm,
So that's worthwhile knowing. So even the most powerful urges and cravings do pass. So that will be probably when we get into slightly of the deeper work here today, as we explore. But just to start off with, people here on the call, so I'm guessing the word craving speaks to them in some way. You might have something that is a behavior that's got into a bit of a habit and that you'd rather it not be taking up so much time or spending money on. So just thinking for yourselves, and as you know that EFT works best when we get specific. So if you either think about the last time where you had a craving, and we're just going to get you to have a think about, or tune into what did you see? So was it the look of the bottle with the droplets of moisture coming down the side? Was it the look of the packaging? What did you hear? Did you hear the sound of bubbles popping, or did you hear some music in the background? What did you feel? So just getting a sense of that just before you're about to do your thing, the craving. So what did you actually feel? What feeling did you have? For some people it's excitement or anticipation or a bit antsy perhaps.
There's an interesting
Was
one in the chat where someone put online gaming,
okay.
which I hadn't thought of
So
before. Yeah.
yeah, no, that and actually that I thank you for that. That's fantastic. That's a growing addiction, or say addiction, sorry, that's when it can progress. So that growing urge, and I just saw a little video clip recently of little kiddies with iPads and things. And what that's doing, those kids are getting absolutely their dopamine's getting absolutely activated really early. So yes, for the online gaming, it might be like how do you feel just before, like it's normally time I really want to do some gaming, like what is that like? So what is it the thought of seeing the console or having the controller in your hands? So just get a representation for that, and we'll do some tapping. We're just going to if feel for yourself, like I don't know if any of you've got a craving right now. You could be using that as an example. How strong is that urge? How strong is that craving? So 0 is no craving, and 10 is like it's as strong as it could be. And get a feeling of where are you feeling all of this in your body. So just tuning into your body as you think about, oh, got this craving. And how strong is that? And tapping on the side of the hand, you can make a note of that on a piece of paper if you like.
Sorry to
So,
interrupt. If for
so
those who cannot or don't feel in their body well,
okay,
what do you
yes.
suggest for that?
So just imagine. So if you would, you can even imagine how big is that feeling. So is it as big as I don't know sports, but think about how big is that, or is it yeah, so just some way that you've got a representation for you. Is it as big as the room? Is it as big as your chest? Is it as big as a bread box or whatever? Yeah, thank you. Good. That's great. I really love it. All right, so tapping on the side of the hand with your craving in mind, that feeling of what you're feeling just before, all of that goes into this is called getting into the gap. This is starting to get curious about what this actually craving, like what's driving this. All right. So this is a call and response. So I'll say the words and you tap and repeat after me. Even though I've got this craving and it feels strong and it's hard to ignore, I accept myself and what my body is showing me. Even though I've got this strong craving and it feels uncomfortable, it feels really urgent. I accept myself and that this is my truth right now. Even though this urge feels bigger than me right now, I acknowledge all my body's responses. Okay, so going to the top of the head, so there's the single point at the top of the head. This craving, I want it. Side of my, it feels strong. It's so hard to resist. I keep thinking about it. I can feel it in my body. It's like it's really pulling me. My head is telling me, you know you want it. My body is saying, I need this now. This craving, I can feel it in all of my body. It's really hard to ignore. I can feel it in my body. My head is telling me I have to have it. And my body is just going along for the ride. It's just what I do. This craving, it's demanding my attention. Okay, so just tuning into your body now. So that was just an opening round as you're just acknowledging what's there. As we do with tapping, we just like to acknowledge whatever is there. I meant to say too that if I use any words that don't resonate with you, please switch it out and make it familiar with what speaks to you. And just let us know if there is anything that does come up for you. You
Yeah.
might have, sorry.
For everyone who's, a little new to this, you might find it surprising how we're actually speaking to like, oh, I really want this, right? So we're not doing anything yet that's like, and I don't need this. We're not like convincing ourselves, oh, like I'm tapping away this craving. I'm clearing away this craving. Notice how there was none of that language. And this is
Mm.
something you'll often find people doing who've, learned tapping casually, which is great. I mean, it's not going to hurt you. It's still going to be better to do it than to not do it. But notice that we're actually, Lisa was spending time kind of hanging out in the experience of my body wants this, my mind is telling me this, right? So there's a lot, and the tapping is actually helping you be present with that experience and telling your body it's kind of the physical sensation of the tapping is telling your body it's okay, even though we don't like being here. And this is, to me, the most interesting step. It's the most interesting part because we all want to get to the clearing, like when do I get rid of the craving? But this is how you actually get there, is to like help the body. The tapping is telling the body we're okay. And you're acknowledging, like, I know you don't like this right now.
Yes, that's right. So if we try and deny it's happening, because this is being driven by a brain chemistry, it's we can only use willpower and conscious power so much. Like we really need to acknowledge, um, I have this part. Now, the first part of this is to acknowledge what's there. Because if we don't actually get honest about what is there, the only way we can affect change is we get honest with what's there. So none of this, what I want to say too, is please hold a frame for yourselves of a loving, kind, compassionate space, because all cravings start off as an attempt at a solution. That's how they got started, is whether it was associated, and that's what we can go into now with these slightly, I call it digging deeper. So this is where we're starting to get into the surface levels we've had a look at, but really what's underneath that. So what are some of the deeper, maybe emotions, or what the body's actually needing, that's actually asking for attention. And I think this is where the true change work can happen, is instead of making that craving part wrong, is like, let's get curious. Like, what is it that you're wanting to say? Like, what you're obviously trying to get a need met. So this is where we can go a little bit deeper with that. So please hold that loving, compassionate space for yourselves, because we're all on a journey, right? And we're adults here. We get to make our own choices. So none of this is wrong or bad. This is just about, okay, now it's time. Like for me, I've just given up coffee. Like I'm not enjoying it, but hey. So All right, so thinking about whatever it is that you're craving, whether it is a behavior or a substance, this works the same. And as I say, it's about the mind and the body are trying to solve something. So if you hold that sort of space, it's like they're actually trying to come up with a solution to help. And I think somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, yes, so um, boredom or feeling depressed. So yeah, so there's some can be underlying emotions that might be wanting attention. There might be it might be asking you to maybe just slow down a bit. You know, sometimes that's what it can be for people is, oh, when I have this cigarette, I actually get some time to myself. Or when I have the cigarette, actually, I take a deep breath. If you think about it, like that might be the first deep breath. If someone's been busy, that might be the first deep breath they've taken all day. Just thinking about it in that way. So, yeah, having it could be offering relief, it could be providing comfort and can be a distraction. It could be a reward, like, I've had a really tough day. I really deserve this, like I do. Reward, your boredom can be another one. So it's just if you just have a think for yourselves about what, if you can, what is the underlying, if you've got any sense of it now, and we're going to do a little bit of tapping to help with this. So what I find with tapping is sometimes we can use tapping and ask questions and let the body speak and come up with the answers. So we don't consciously come up with the answers in our head. It's like, let's let the body kind of tell us, like we'll get this kind of idea floating in that at the start of tapping we may not have. So that's also another reason why I like tapping. So if you've all got a sense of that, and we'll just do a few rounds and just honor that there might be a deeper reason for what is driving this behavior. All right, so tapping on the side of the hand. Even though I've got this craving, I'm open to the possibility that it might be trying to tell me something. Even though I want this craving to go away, it feels so uncomfortable. I'm willing to explore what it might actually need. Even though I'm not sure why my craving is really here, I'm open to being curious instead of being critical. Top of head. This craving, maybe it's trying to tell me something. Maybe there's a feeling underneath. Perhaps I deserve a reward. I've been working so hard. I've been looking after children all day. I deserve some time to sit down and have some me time. This craving is driving a behavior for me. I wonder what it really is trying to say to me. I'm curious what the underlying need might be. Is it trying to help me to slow down? So many demands on my time. I deserve to have something that's just for me. I wonder what this craving is really about. I wonder when I started learning that this behavior or substance would make me feel better or bring me comfort. I'm curious about any earlier memories where I might have associated with this behavior or this substance. I'm letting my body know it's safe to show me where it's come from. Taking a nice deep breath. And just noticing for yourselves if anything has come up in your body, if you had any insights, or maybe it can be like a little essence of a past memory. Sometimes it could be like, oh gosh, I started eating chocolate cake as my craving, and wow, I used to make chocolate cake with my grandmother. So we can make these associations at an unconscious level. You know, in these busy days, we might be seeking comfort and all of a sudden we're eating chocolate cake. And it'd be like, I wonder, you know, if you get curious and go, why? Oh, yes, so someone with gaming. So it's how it passed time as a child. Yeah. It's a longing for my son who I used to game with. Yes. So that's really powerful. That's a powerful insight. And obviously, there's one that's carrying a lot of memory for you. Thank you for sharing that. So yes, it's to really honor all of these, that it is an attempt at a solution. And I found because I've been off sugar for about 18 months. I know I'm doing this pure thing in my life, but I got this sudden urge to eat chocolate biscuits, and I was like, what is driving that? And I had been sugar-free for about 8 months or so, off chocolate and things. And so I went and bought a packet, ate it. Like, it's never for me, it's just one, like it's the whole packet. And when I got curious, so I did that, and then I got curious about what drove that behavior. And what it was coming up to a 2-month anniversary of my dad passing. And we used to sit down and have a cup of tea and a chocolate biscuit together. So I was looking for soothing. And it was totally, and I know this stuff, right? But it was totally at an unconscious level. I just acted out, and I didn't make myself wrong or bad about that.
That's really important where you mentioned that you didn't make yourself wrong or bad about it. There's actually a question that just came up in the chat. Aaron says, we seem to live in an era where everything has been pathologized. So how can we decide if something we want to do is not a negative craving versus a personal ritual or social
Yeah.
custom?
Yes. And I think, there is something around honoring those, they might be family traditions that are passed down that are absolutely packed with really warm memories. And so, yes, none of this is about making any of this wrong or bad. If something is, and we can get into this if you like, it's around that. If say chocolate, and I'll just use that as an example because it's a personal one, and um, it was getting to a level that was getting unsafe for my health. So I was looking for soothing. But if I can separate it out, actually, it's the warm memories that I want. It's not the fat and the sugar. It's actually the memories are in my heart. And that's what I'm wanting to connect with. It's not the external stuff of the chocolate. It's actually, I want to feel connected again. So I can go to the memories in my heart without having to have the chocolate. So yeah, no, great point. This isn't about getting rid of social customs or anything like that. I think the only time someone would want to change something around a craving is where it's starting to escalate and it's either taking up more time away from family, it's taking up more money. Like, it's when it starts to gain momentum and starts to, I find with my clients, it's like, it's not necessarily the substance or the behavior, it's the compulsion that they don't like. It feels like they're being driven to do it, that they've lost that point of choice.
Yeah.
Because no one ever comes to me because they enjoy a chocolate biscuit. Like, It's only when it starts to cross that line of like, I've tried to stop this myself and I can't, or they're struggling with it. And
I'm a big
that's where yeah, sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the name emotional freedom technique, right? Because it's the freedom to have it or not have it is a really key component of it. So it's not never eat chocolate again technique or
Yeah,
never always be this kind of technique or the ultimate purification technique. It's to help clear out the emotions and the driving factors so that you are in a position to say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to have a chocolate biscuit in honor of my dad, and I'm going to choose to do that. And one
absolutely.
chocolate thing is probably not going to hurt me because you can go the other direction, which is more of my personality type, which is like, okay, I've decided I'm not going to have chocolate, or I've learned like, okay, sugar is not good for me. And then for years, like I was almost like, okay, no exceptions. And that became another thing where like, okay, I'm gonna really will myself and use tapping or whatever to, I'm not gonna let myself have a bite of something. And then it's like, well, I'm in this other country or like, because I'm a musician, I'm traveling a lot. It's like, it's silly to not like taste this thing because I'm trying to prove something to myself. Like I'll never eat sugar again. So for me, it was kind of the opposite way where I noticed there was an emotional fixation and identity on being like, Mr. Willpower or something. And that was actually not serving me because, that piece of cake I had or whatever, my friend's birthday didn't take years off my life. I just got to enjoy it in that moment. So seeing where your personal relationship with these external things in your life are, where like Lisa was saying, if it doesn't feel like it's a choice, it feels like there's some sort of identity driving your not having it or lack of choice or almost taking over your body. And like, if I try to use willpower here, it's going to be all willpower and I'm just going to be emotionally consumed and constantly thinking about the fact that I'm not having it. That's no fun. Right? So,
Yes, really good. Do you want to should we do some rounds around, just some tapping around memories and just honoring that? Would that be
yeah,
helpful?
because
Or
that's
would
really
they?
fascinating, your story of like who would think that immediately? Like
It
that would
was
so easily fly by the radar.
it was so unconscious, and I work in this field, right? And the other thing that just to it can be around anniversaries. It can be around obviously holiday time, the firsts, like all of the firsts, like the first anniversary of, say, someone passing, or um, the first ice cream you shared with your son out on an outing or so. It's packed with a lot. So let's do some tapping just to honor if people do have, just getting a sense if people do have in the chat, if you don't mind, have you got any of you got any ideas around any memories? You don't have to say what they are, but is any of this landing for you that you can go, oh, that's why I might be doing? Yeah, great. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's just honor that. And sometimes what can happen is it's not immediately obvious as well. To be like, when was the first time? So this might be a useful pre-frame to have. Think about whatever the craving is that that you're wanting to work on, and think about the first time. When did you first, um, when did you first have it? Like, do you have an early association? And tune into that. It may have been a family event. It may have been another celebration, or it may have been a sad event, but somewhere where there's looking for comfort. All right. Tapping on the side of the hand. And I'll just keep using the words of like, I have this craving, as if you're wanting to find the deeper reason, but change the words out if you need. Even though I have this craving now. And it might be linked to an earlier memory or emotion. I accept myself and what my body is telling me, even though I don't fully understand this craving right now. Maybe part of me remembers that it brought me comfort. I accept myself and any associations my body has made. Even though I just feel the craving now, I'm curious if my body or my heart is holding on to an old feeling underneath it. Okay, top of head. I feel this craving strongly now. It feels like I just need it. Maybe it's not just about now. Maybe there's an earlier memory when I learnt that this would give me what I need. I've put all these memories into this substance, and it brought me comfort or whatever it gave me. Maybe it helped me fit in. Maybe it helped me feel like I was part of something. I don't have to figure it all out now. I'm letting my body know it's safe to show me where I first felt this feeling and where I learnt that this substance or behavior brought me comfort. I'm just noticing what might be there. And I thank my body for showing me what's there. I'm open to learning more about myself. I'm allowing myself to slow down so that I can find out what's underneath this. And I love and accept myself and all that's going on for me. Okay. So for yourselves, you may just tuning in, obviously this is a general round. And if you did have a particular memory that you wanted to work on, you could do that at another time. But this is just a good way to just really honor the truth of what might be there. This is what it is, sort of peeling back the layers, really. And I feel like this way can let the body know that it's not wrong for doing what it's doing, but it's really letting us get rid of that compulsion and letting us get back to more of a choice. Because at the end of the day, we're here to have a good life, right? And we're here to make choices, and it can include chocolate biscuits. Yeah. My son brought me chocolate for my birthday yesterday, so he might even be on the call at the moment. So. All
Great, yeah.
right.
And I'm curious if anyone has any questions. And maybe let's just recap the approach so far, which is to, first we're acknowledging what we're experiencing. So acknowledging that I have a craving, and you notice the tapping in the beginning was just like personalized for you. Obviously, it's being done here in a more generalized way. And you can revisit these rounds on YouTube as much as you like. But this feeling of how it is for you, like, oh, my mind is telling me I need this, or my body is just, screaming for this coffee, or I'm having thoughts like I won't be able to function today without having a cup of coffee. How am I going to go to work? Right? You're tapping while almost like verbally journaling or expressing your experience, and that's setting the stage for just letting the truth of everything you're experiencing just be acknowledged, come to the surface, acknowledging that it's not comfortable. You're not pretending, you're not making statements of willpower, right? We're not like, even though I have this craving, I am determined today to not touch the stuff, right? That's a very different energy than what's being presented here in the beginning. It's just acknowledging what you're feeling, and then kind of exploring with curiosity. Okay, what might be going on here? What is the feeling I'm looking for? What do I believe about this craving? Again, it could be like in Lisa's example, that feeling of connection, or it could be fear-based, like those thoughts, oh, I won't be able to perform today. If I don't have coffee today, I can't start this week because this week I have this business meeting. And if I don't perform well, or Lisa could have said, I'm doing this YouTube thing today. So I can't start today, right? Those are all very, very common mechanisms in the mind to say, well, yeah, I can't let go of this now, right? We'll do it another time, we'll do it later. And so you're not fighting it. You don't argue the point saying, well, no, I've decided I'm not going to have coffee today. It's acknowledging, yeah, I'm acknowledging there's this fear that I won't be able to perform today. I'm acknowledging there's this feeling like if I don't have this, I'm just going to be really sad. And this is the only thing that's going to make me not feel so sad. And what's wrong with doing something that cheers me up a little bit, right? Just acknowledging your own sort of inner dialogue about the whole situation and then using that as a springboard for the curiosity and further exploration of what's actually going on for you in a non-judgmental way, because then you're working with what your actual experience is, right? So now we're not tapping on like, oh, I'm tapping on my craving for chocolate. In a broad way, yes, but it gets really specific, right? Like, oh, now I'm exploring. I feel sad and my body remembers that, hey, chocolate kind of makes me feel better, so maybe I should do that. That's so much more subtle and real than like I'm just doing a tapping on points to get rid of the desire for chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, nicely said. So that's a really good point, actually. If the dopamine, as the dopamine is rising, which the body starts to, sorry, the brain starts to secrete that, which sends us into searching mode. So whatever we attach as that dopamine is rising, that's when the body learns, oh, well, that gave me a reward. I'll do it again. So we can't just take away the substance, excuse me, or behavior because the dopamine's still trying to rise. So it's really important to ride that wave if you are looking to change behaviors or, to come up with a different way so that the craving isn't becoming that real compulsion, is looking for a bigger, better offer. So something, it's called hacking the dopamine system, if you like. So hacking the reward system is instead of reaching for coffee, chocolate, whatever, is something that you yourself choose is actually really something you enjoy. So it may be that, and you do that instead of doing the what you normally do. So what that does is your body starts to learn, your brain starts to learn that, oh, this new behavior, which might be going outside, getting your feet on the grass, looking at the sun, taking a nice deep breath in, whatever it is that you actually genuinely enjoy, it has to be something fun. It can't be just folding laundry instead of eating chocolate. Like, I know what I would choose, right? So it has to be something that you actually genuinely enjoy. And then doing that, but it takes time for the dopamine to be attached to that new behavior. So yeah, really good point there. It's like use the body chemistry, the brain's pumping out this dopamine, do the behavior, the new behavior, and over time, so it isn't a one quick wonder, it will start to associate that new behavior or that new food, whatever, with feeling good, with the reward system. So EFT tapping is really useful to help those urges that's when it's doing some quick tapping. What I would say is leaving it till the cravings like really strong, it's actually pretty much all bets off. It makes it really hard because by that time, that brain chemistry is really pumping out. So what I get my clients doing is I actually get them doing some regular tapping throughout the day. So I get them to do tapping in the morning, just to set the tone for the day. I get them to tap in the midday and again towards the end of the day. I want the whole nervous system to just come down a bit. If you leave it till just before 4 o'clock when you normally pick up, packet of crisps or whatever, it's probably too late because it will be quite strong by then. So that's what I've learned anyway.
That's really fascinating. If I could recap that a little bit
Please.
and make sure I understand it. And I feel like that's super important for everyone, um, in probably topics beyond cravings as well. So we need to be replacing what we're craving with something that also gives a sense of reward or sense of satisfaction or sense of fulfillment in some way. So if we're simply trying to use something like tapping to just get rid of cravings with nothing replacing, with nothing satisfying being put in its place, then the idea is we're almost just trying to like turn ourselves into monks or something, and it's not really going to feel satisfying or rewarding. It's just this is where I feel like it's very easy to turn yourself into a project, which is a thing that happens with self-improvement and tapping. It's like, okay, well, I got to get rid of all my cravings. And it's like we're finding things to clear out, but understanding that the way the brain works, from what you're describing, if we're simply tapping to get rid of a craving, but there's nothing positive, no emotion we're connecting to, no physical experience, like you said, going out and taking a short walk, something that also gives the body and brain a feeling of like, oh, this is giving me a sense of satisfaction. It's so much more forgiving, and it makes more sense that this is going to be important or even necessary for that craving to subside, because otherwise you're just sort of sitting there with nothing now, which is not going to be very appealing.
Nikki said it beautifully. If it's not enjoyable, it's not sustainable. I mean, that's perfectly said. That's so true. And yeah, that's actually really good. One of the big barriers that can be as emotions that are less than helpful, if I can say, for anyone wanting to work with cravings, is how do you feel after you've had a craving and you've followed through? So sometimes people can go into emotions of a more of a low vibration of shame, guilt, remorse. Those low vibrations are a real barrier to having that loving compassion to I want to say healing. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we can't beat ourselves into good behavior. I mean, that's just no way to live, right? So it's really worthwhile just noticing, what do you say to yourself after? So let's say an urge has come, you've done your thing. How do you feel afterwards? And those low vibration emotions, and they're worth being honest with them, but also that they don't actually serve. They're not helpful. And that can be a barrier, in fact, will go because then it can go to, oh gosh, I just mucked up. Like I'm just such a loser. Like it can get into a downward spiral way too quickly, which then can make, oh well, I've started, I might as well continue. No, like it's just such an unhelpful pattern. And So does any of this resonate with anyone where they that sort of beat me up, sort of, oh gosh, I'm such a whatever. Yeah. So that's where tapping also can be quite useful, is just to acknowledge whatever the truth of how you talk about yourself, how do you think about yourself afterwards. I've had people who say, they wake at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, oh, I've done it again, and they get into a really low kind of space with that. And that sort of, I'm stuck in this pattern, I'm so tired of it, I don't know how to get out of it. Like that's when it can start to get into a real unhelpful loop. So should we do some rounds around if there was shame or something like that? Would
I
that
think
be
that would be
helpful?
great. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this would be something that you use if you find yourself in that headspace of beating yourself up for either you've had the thing or you're judging how much you're craving it or anything else where your thought process has moved from, okay, my body's desiring something and I'm simply exploring that and working through it to uh-oh, like I'm a bad person for wanting this. Why can't I get over this? It's shifted now in tone into a judgmental space.
Yes, when it starts to shift from I had this biscuit to I'm a bad person, like when it goes into the identity, that's when it's really starting to take over and it's not helpful. So for yourselves, whether this resonates or not, we'll just do some rounds in case you're getting any internal voice is often an indication of how you might be speaking to yourself. And is it a loving voice or is it an inner critical voice? Um, Even though I gave in to the craving and I feel disappointed in myself, I'm open to being kind to myself instead of judging. Even though I acted on this craving again, now I regret it. I acknowledge how I'm feeling and remind myself that I'm a work in progress. Even though I really wish I'd made a different choice, I accept that I'm human. And maybe I can meet myself with understanding and not shame. Top of head. I gave into the craving again. I said I wasn't going to, but I did. And now I feel bad. This cycle keeps going. This compulsion to do my thing. But it doesn't feel fun afterwards. I've got this internal critic that's really judging me. And I feel these emotions of shame and remorse. I'm just wishing that I hadn't given in to the craving. I just acknowledge that it happened. And I'm open to learning from that. Maybe I could find out where I started to choose. Sorry, I lost my words. Maybe I could start to find out what part drove me to carry on and do my thing. Maybe I didn't do enough self-care throughout the day. I need to remember that underlying emotion or that need that my body is asking to be met. I know feelings of shame, remorse, and guilt don't feel good. I can draw a line in the sand. As Evan says, we don't have to be saints. I'm human. I'm open to letting go of the shame and remorse from all pieces and parts of my body because it doesn't help me. It's an old, outdated self-care pattern. I'm open to letting the shame and remorse go. I'm using tapping to release this from my body now. I choose to have more love and compassion for myself. Maybe I can choose to be more loving so that I can create more positive changes in my life. And not trying to shame myself into good behavior. I don't want to do good behavior. I just want to be able to live my life with freedom and joy. Well done. So taking a deep breath in. For some of you, that may resonate if you've got a strong inner critic that's trying to do a running commentary on your life. And for others of you, you may not have that. But what I've learned is that shame, when I try to shame myself into better behavior, it never works. So, I got a lower sat there. Thanks, Nikki.
That was
Yeah.
great. Thanks for leading that.
You're
And I'm
welcome.
curious if anyone here on Zoom or YouTube, actually, I'm seeing the chat there. If you have any questions about anything so far, and if you're on Zoom and you want to ask a question, I mean, just understand that it is public, it is being streamed. But if you do have something you want to ask that's a little more nuanced, or you feel like it would be easier to speak it rather than type it, just let me know, and we can do that as well. So yeah, very, very good stuff. And I think that's a really comprehensive set of tappings there that you can revisit as well. From the beginning, voicing of what you're feeling, to the acknowledging and being curious about what some of the origins might be, what memories, what associations may be there that you can then explore, maintaining as best you can this space of I'm being curious, doing my best not to judge my body, understanding the logic. And you always find there is some logic. There's some intelligence as to why the body is saying, let's do this. It's not as simple as I think we often make it, where it's like, oh, well, our bodies just like the taste of chocolate, and we just have to be really, really strict with them and forceful with them because they just crave chocolate all the time. I feel like that's sort of the dominant mentality, and that's sort of in the language and the approach that we have as a collective around, diet and behavior. It's like you're just tempted by all these bad, awful things, and they're shoved in your face. So you just have to be strong and make good choices. But when you start exploring, there's these really nuanced connections between your body, your brain, your emotional memories, your nervous system, all of these things say, I want this now for this reason because it satisfies a certain need within me. It becomes a lot more interesting, first of all, and also a lot more effective as a way to work on things. And then when you find yourself judging, regretting a decision you made, or feeling like now it's a personal thing, right? Instead of my body just was craving chocolate, it's I'm weak. I should be stronger. I should be better. You can revisit that great round that Lisa just did, and you can tune back into as best you and practice and think of it as something to practice. That for me is one of the most important things with all of this is giving you this framework that Lisa's presenting so you're not looking at it like, again, I did my tapping on the chocolate craving. It didn't work. I still want chocolate. I guess doesn't work. I guess I'm not good at this. I guess tapping doesn't work, right? When you get a real simplified version of things, it's really easy to judge in that way. Just imagine if you were given the idea that, you're just supposed to walk around the block a couple times and then you're like in perfect physical shape. You'd be like, well, I did that and it doesn't work. And you would be right to be doubting the information you're getting and questioning it. But to understand the context gives you a lot more room to be like, yeah, it's a process. It's discovery, it's curiosity, it's patience, it's repetition. Yeah, so I don't see any questions except one on YouTube, Lisa, which was they asked if you have a YouTube channel. I said, I believe you're working on it, but let me know.
I'm brand new. So in name only, but I'm about to launch something there. And my areas of interest, my passions are particularly addiction, craving, grief work, quantum EFT. So yes, uh, so not yet, but I'm learning. There's a lot
Awesome.
to learn.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Can I do a confessional?
of course. You can do whatever you
Around,
want.
it's appropriate. I very nearly went and got a coffee before
Oh.
this because my body was feeling so bad. And so I did some of this tapping before this session because I like my stomach. Anyway, it worked. I had a stomach upset, and anyway, that's probably too much information. But I literally nearly went down to the shop to get a coffee.
No, good for
So
you.
I'm a work in progress. I'll let you know.
That's great. No, it's great to hear that it's effective in a very practical way. You know,
Thanks.
you're not selling magic and saying this is just I'll never crave
No,
anything ever again, but it's a very
no.
practical tool in those real moments where you feel you need it. And there is a time and a space, I would, in my opinion, like if you've decided, okay, I'm addicted might be too strong of a word, but I'm a bit dependent on coffee, then you might be in a little bit more of willpower-ish state where like, okay, I'm really going to try to not have it for a month. And that's health. That's very different than I can never touch it again. And I have to be militant about never having a sip of coffee for the rest of my life. But if you're in a phase where you're like, okay, I want to break a cycle of dependence, then it might be a combination of the decision to say, even if I really want it, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to exercise the choice to not have it and be with the discomfort and maybe have to lean on tapping and other support systems more in that interim, but not necessarily spending the rest of your life being like, never again. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really good example.
That thing of giving it up, say for a month, if you think what that actually does is it slows the momentum down. It slows down the association that the person's made between how they're feeling and the automatic doing of the behavior or having the substance. So that can be a good strategy to also start bringing in other things. And then it can get the person back to being more at choice point instead of it choosing them. They're actually, okay, I'm going to choose to have it just on the weekend, let's say, or something like that. So the other thing I thought can be really useful, and it doesn't have to be scripted, but if you were to think of two parts in yourself, so let's say you've got a craving part and you've got a resistance part, and just as if alternate your statements of I want this, but it didn't do any good last time. You're like, so you can just give each of those two different parts a voice and tap, like do truth tapping of what each part wants. And that can be really good to kind of scramble it all up, really, and just let them both have a say. And then adding in phrases like, I wonder if there's a healthy way that I can get all of my needs met. Just something like that to just honor both parts, don't make them wrong. And they both have a voice. And then finishing it off with, I always like to finish with the hand on the heart and just sort of breathing into the heart and coming back into the body and just going, this is the vehicle we've been given to get around in this life. So it is worth listening to what it really wants to say, because it's quite precious, really. So,
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's a very powerful approach. We won't get into that whole can of worms, but understand that there's generally some sort of part involved. And if you're interested in inner child work, we have some of that on the channel as well. There can be parts of yourself that have memories formed from when you're younger that are associated with certain things. Miriam Paninsky had talked about that in her childhood with uh, like things in the bakery, the smell of pastries, things. It takes you back to childhood, right? These connections that are there where the part of you that's saying like, okay, I don't want to have coffee anymore. I'm not going to have chocolate anymore. There can be another part of you that feels like you're almost being given rules and it's rebelling against that. Like it's like, I want chocolate. It would make me happy. And you've got this taskmaster part of you. It's like, no, no, no. And there's this inner dynamic of like rebellion, and so the more it's a conversation and a dialogue, and that idea of replacing it with something. So you're not just telling a part of yourself, no, no more happiness for you. Chocolate equals happiness. So no, you're not going to have any happiness. It's bad for you. It's finding something else that can satisfy that, or even giving a reason and a context in a more gentle way. Because who liked as a kid hearing no because I said no? You can't have it because I said we're not having it because we're bad for you. Like there's an internal frustration that naturally brings up. So the more that this is a dialogue, which all of the tapping that Lisa did is in that tone, right? It's facilitating a dialogue of sorts within yourself that's very exploratory. It's understanding. It's not calling the part of yourself that wants chocolate the bad part, the weak part, the part that needs to be fixed. And that's my favorite subject. Everything I do, I feel like, is always sort of pointing to that because it doesn't matter how great tapping is, it doesn't matter how great inner child work is. Any technique you use can be used in a way where you're like trying to fix a broken self, or it can be used in a way where you're facilitating a conversation that's ultimately going to lead to something more productive. So thanks, Lisa, for presenting everything today in a way that is really supportive and not non-judgmental and very practical that everyone can use, whether that's just, you want to wean off coffee a little bit to anything else in between to get a deeper understanding of where this pattern might be coming from and how I can work with it. So thanks again for leading all of this today.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I wish everyone well in whatever they choose to do in their lives. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much.